Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Fuel for Success, episode number 126. 24 episodes until our 150th episode, my friend, and I just did the calculations. July 29th, we'll be doing episode number 150, so y'all don't want to miss that. Mark your calendar. It's going to be amazing. July 29th, episode 150. But today is episode number 126. Matt, I think this is your last day in that particular studio, right?
Yes, it is my last day in Ohio. Mike, I calculated since moving to Florida, this is the longest I've ever been away. 20 days, man. 20 straight days outside of Florida. It's never happened before. And it shall never happen again. But it was a great time, had an awesome time. And but yeah, definitely looking forward to getting back home, being with Caleb, getting back into my routine, getting back into my house, getting back into the beach. I'm like going to just go crawl in the sand. I'm going to put it in my hair. I'm going to put it all over my face. This is the longest, man. Yeah, I'm definitely having major Florida withdrawals. I mean, really, like total. Like there's times I'm just like, wow, man. Did I really agree to be gone 20 days straight? Like, really? But, it was worth it. Had a great time and got a lot done and had a great revival, man. Had a great revival here. Been with the young people the last few days, going out and feeding the homeless. That was awesome. And got a new, Mike and I have been working on some new training stuff. We got that finished. So that was quite an undertaking, but we got it done. How's the audio, man?
It's good. Your voice sounds a little raw, man, but audio is good. It's actually pretty loud. Did you change something?
Well, I unplugged my microphone, and I didn't know if you wanted it plugged back in or keep it like it is.
Like this is fine. It's good. It's got plenty of audio to work with here. Like I say, other than your voice, man, you should take care of that. It doesn't sound that great. I guess
my voice.
Probably
what were you gonna say?
I said you've probably been speaking a little bit.
Yeah, I think my voice needs a break. I think I need like 3 days without talking because I've been in all kinds of meetings, coaching, plus doing the videos, plus preaching, and the list goes on. But it's not a woe is me. I'm blessed. But yeah, my voice definitely needs a break, my friend. I can feel it. But hey, I'm excited about today's show, man. This is one of our favorite shows today,
Right.
Dealing with the subject of spirituality. Have you ever had moments, Mike, where you didn't feel real spiritual?
Where I what? Don't feel?
Yeah, where you just don't feel real spiritual.
I had a few.
Few of them through the years.
I've had
3
a few
days.
of them. Yeah. Last few days. Yeah.
There is such a thing as going
actually,
through.
I mean, that happens. Sometimes. I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
You're cutting out. Can you hear me? Is that Mike? Can you hear me? Say yes.
I can hear you fine, man.
Oh, you got some
Just every
Starbucks
once
this
in a while
morning?
No, it's one of those plastic cups. Well, it is Starbucks, but I brewed it myself.
You like the plastic cups?
Yeah, you can get these. They're like $1, so I guess it saves paper or whatever. So doing my part for the environment,
You know what? I'm thirsty myself. Anyways, I'll be back in Florida Thursday.
Cool. So sometime tomorrow.
Yeah, late tomorrow most likely. Depends on how far I can go. I'm speaking tonight. As soon as I'm speaking, my car's already pretty much packed. Got a few things to put in there and then out, hitting the road. Hitting the road, my friend. Be ready for a late night chat.
Sounds good.
which means we'll probably start a business tonight, knowing us.
Or something. Yeah, I see that, Karen. We're having a little bit of a delay on the network, so we'll just sort of slow it down a little bit. Hopefully, the network will catch up with us, and we'll roll with it. And today's Wednesday, and just like every Wednesday, as Matt said, we're going to talk about spirituality, and such a pillar in the success of life. This is Fuel for Success, which is, our goal is to bring you daily motivation and really fodder for your furnace, right, to be successful. We want you to be successful in every area of your life. And you and I are learning along this journey as well, Matt. We certainly don't know everything, but we're sharing what we know and answering questions. And the goal of this show, again, is to help people be successful. And spirituality is such an important part of success in life. I've got a bunch of questions that have come in. And, but I was actually thinking, Matt, as you mentioned, have you ever felt, not so spiritual? And, I think sometimes when it comes to spirituality, sometimes people may lean a little too heavily on their feelings and how they feel at the moment. When a lot of times, we're emotional creatures, we're emotional, physical, and spiritual. Sometimes we rely a little too heavily on that emotion part to sort of guide where we're at spiritually. What's your advice for someone when they're not feeling necessarily very spiritual?
I like what you said. Number one, don't be alarmed and don't feel like God's mad at you, or don't feel like you're necessarily doing something wrong. A lot of times it's an issue of the fact that, sometimes we go through tests. We go through times where God leaves us in the wilderness on purpose, because that's where we grow the most. And it's not always based on feeling. You can never have faith if you're not tested. And sometimes God may God may not withdraw, his presence, but maybe the feeling of his presence. Sometimes God may appear that he's ignoring you and that he's not listening, or that God is silent. Sometimes that's a test. Sometimes you grow the most in those moments of dry spells, or maybe just things that you go through in your spirituality, as far as, you don't feel God. But you cannot allow that to shake your faith, because you may be at your strongest when you don't feel him. The flip side of that, Mike, is always do an evaluation and make sure that you're really staying connected in God through daily repentance. Sin separates us from God. And so sometimes if I don't feel God and I don't feel it's a test, I'll say, okay, God, what have I done to grieve you? What have I done to separate myself from your presence? Search my heart, creating me a clean heart, renewing me a right spirit. And I'll literally pray a prayer of repentance. And a lot of times, it might be a situation where, you're tired. Maybe you're extra tired. Maybe you're not praying the way that you normally pray. Maybe you're not fulfilling your purpose. So you don't feel good. You don't feel that connection with God like you should. Your worship isn't as strong as maybe it once was. Some of these things are factors, but the real reason is, I'd say the majority of time, if not all the time, usually it's a test. Usually it's God just testing you to see, not to see, but to grow you, to build your faith.
I like that. I think another thing just to kind of throw in there is that, a lot of times we need to act our way into feeling, and you may, wake up in the morning and not feel like praying, not feel like reading your Bible, not feel motivated to do it. Or maybe you're in church on Sunday morning, you don't feel like worshiping. In any of those cases, there's a part of our intellect that says, that's the thing to do, because your past has shown you that there's a connection to God that comes from that. And so even though you don't feel like it, you need to just do it. And sometimes when you act, you act your way into feeling. You begin to worship, and then you feel the presence of God, or you just go ahead and pray, read your Bible, regardless of how you feel, and then you feel, you feel that spiritual momentum again. Um, so that's something that I take from other areas of life, So uh, that's at least the way I look at it.
It's
Hey,
actually very good. I like that a lot.
let me ask you this. Here's a question that I have for you. And we've talked about prayer, we've talked about meditation, a bunch of things, and this is I'm actually interested to know the answer to this question as well. When you're like in your alone time, you're spending time in prayer, and maybe you just set aside a half hour, an hour to spend time with God. Do you listen to music personally?
The majority of the time I do. Actually, on my iPod, I have what I call my playlist.
Yeah.
Excuse me. My prayer playlist. And it's selected songs that I like to pray to. And I usually like to do, my style of prayer is different than what other people's is, and we all got to kind of find our own style. For me, I seem to connect best when I have that worship. It's deep worship. It's really powerful. They're like some songs that really just, they take me there to that place. And so I have a selected playlist that I usually listen to when I pray. However, if I don't have it playing, it doesn't mean to me that it doesn't affect my prayers, let's say. So in other words, as a general rule, yes, but I many times have also prayed without it because I want that complete silence with God. You know what I'm saying? So it literally just depends. What about you, man? Are you a music listener too when you pray?
It depends, and sometimes yes, and I also actually have a prayer list playlist on my iPod or iPhone actually, and mine is sort of mostly like I don't know what you'd call it, spiritual warfare sort of music. It's very aggressive spiritual music. Let me put it that way, and sort of marching in the battle sort of music. I actually also have a CD that someone had sent me of just instrumental, which I really enjoy for like a longer period of time. Like if sometimes I'll call prayer meeting at the church for an hour, 5 o'clock a.m. for an hour every day, Monday through Friday, that sort of thing. And if I'm doing that, I have this about an hour and 10 minute long CD that someone sent me, and it's just instrumental. It's like piano, and it's very like relaxing, but it doesn't like you can't really recognize the tune. You know what I mean? So it doesn't like distract you. Because for me, a lot of times, some of the music will distract me, and I won't be able to focus on the direction that mentally that I want to go. So a lot of times when I'm actually most of the time, I would say I prefer not to have music. I'd rather focus and be alone with God, but sometimes I do. And I think it's important not to make it a crutch. Okay, let me put it that way, so that that you can pray without music. Just like I feel like you need to be able to worship without music. Don't let music be a
Oh,
crutch.
totally.
Because
Totally. Yeah. That's some good stuff. I like what Karen said. She said, we make prayer so hard. I totally agree with that.
yeah,
If you had to sum it up for me, one of the number one primary teachings of my life when it comes to almost everything is truly, and this is going to sound so elementary, but keep it simple. Way too many people way overcomplicate spirituality and God. But Mike, yeah, on the playlist thing, I pretty much have a playlist for everything in life, man. I've created playlists for when I'm down and out and feeling low. I've created morning playlist, before bed playlist, meditation playlist, playlist before I go speak that get me fired up, that motivate me. I got some pretty unique playlists on my iPod, my friend.
yeah. And Janice is right. Music is powerful, and we are an emotional creature. I mean, God gave us emotions, and it's okay to use those emotions and to understand that music touches our emotions, and so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I also have a playlist that like it's my sort of it doesn't have Eye of the Tiger, Al, but it's that motivational sort of before you speak, I got to get fired up, and it's like in the locker room before the game kind of playlist. So, um, and that maybe stems from my past. I don't have any AC/DC on it, just so you know. Although I would have 20 years ago.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna reveal all of my playlist. I even got a playlist for when I'm laying on the beach, man. I have a beach playlist.
Man, when I was on the beach in St. Pete, I didn't need a playlist, just the sound of the ocean and the birds. Nice. I do like that.
You talking about the beach you don't like? Is that what I'm hearing?
I didn't say I didn't like it. Did I say I didn't like the beach?
I don't know if it's me, but I literally get Mike cutting out our network must be really bad because you keep cutting in and out, so I miss some parts, which might be a good thing.
Yeah, your network bandwidth is really low right now. So, yeah, I do like the beach, Matt. It doesn't mean I want to move there.
We've had some bad storms.
I think he's having some network issues related to storms right now. Just for the record, I do like the beach. It doesn't mean I don't love Minnesota, where there are no beaches. Well, I mean, no ocean beaches, clearly. Yeah, I agree, Karen. I don't think he believes me. When I did hang out in the hammock in the beach, I got to say that was pretty nice. So that's good, Al. Al says Matt's listening to his off the network playlist now. I don't think he has one of those. This is the show's gone off the trail playlist. That's what we need. We need, like, when things go wrong, we just like bring in the intermission thing and some music. That'd be great. See if we get Matt back. We've got several other questions. Music is such a personal thing. I want to, something that Julia said earlier, I wanted to bring back up because we were talking about acting our way into feelings. And she said that she finds that when she doesn't feel like going, doesn't feel like going to church worshiping, that's when God really reveals himself. And I think that plays a lot into what Matt had said about it often being a test. And, by all means, do what you know to do rather than what you feel to do. So by all means, once we get Matt back on here, ask questions and let me know what questions you have. Hey, glad that everyone is on here today. Thank you so much for being here. And was going to go to another question here in just a minute about books. And since we've got so many awesome viewers on here, one of the next question I have, and we'll get to it when Matt gets back, but I'll go ahead and start with it right now, is what other than the Bible can you recommend any books for spiritual growth? And for my, from my experience, I've found several books that are good. I actually read a book, and I'm trying to find it right now, about spiritual warfare that it's called Needless Casualties of War, and by John Paul Jackson. He's a guy who was planning churches years ago, and it's about spiritual warfare and some of the good morning. Hey, how are you? Can you hear me now?
Man, I've got really bad. Honestly, this is probably the worst internet connection I've seen in a long time. And there's been some really bad storms. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yes.
I am very sorry because I know this is extremely less than professional. So I can't wait to get back home in our normal studio mic. I'm going to have to change locations for the Soul Winner show because this will not work. Because I can barely hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound great. I can hear you fine. Your network looks okay right now. Can you hear me?
No, you're very choppy. You're in and out. I don't know. Does anybody else find Mike to be in and out, or can y'all hear him clear?
Can y'all hear me okay? Some yes, some no.
They can hear you. Must be on my end, Rev.
Hey, let's see if you can follow this, man. The next question I was going to is that other than the Bible, can you recommend any books for spiritual growth? And I had started to talk about a book that I recently read called Needless Casualties of War, which is about spiritual warfare and some of the things that, about spiritual authority in cities and regions. Do you have any books that you could recommend? I don't think that Matt's able to hear me very well.
The book Bait of Satan is probably one of the best books I've ever read as far as just helping you keep a good perspective and keeping your life free from offense and bitterness. I truly believe everyone should read The Bait of Satan. I have found Joy Haney's books to be very spiritually impacting because I know her. She's a very spiritual person and very just enlightening and faith building. When I'm reading for spirituality, I like books to take me and rip me apart and do surgery on me and just, hit me. I don't want to be made to necessarily feel good when I'm reading for spiritual development or growth. I want something to hit me hard. One that hit me really hard early in life was called Secrets of the Heart. It was a very good book. I think every minister should read that book. Another good book is called Ordering Your Private World. Ordering Your Private World is probably the best book I've ever read as far as just going through that spiritual healing. Another one is called, I literally think it's called Renewing Your Passion. It's by the same author of Ordering Your Private World. I think it's called Renewing Your Passion. It's also one of the best books. I've really liked reading him. He's helped me in some seasons of my life where I needed a spiritual development. Books by Max Lucado have helped me. Some of these authors that write and they cut deep to the heart have been very helpful books. I wish I was home to look at my shelf, but I go through different seasons of life where I'll read books that dig into me and help me spiritually, and then I'll go through seasons where, I'll, like right now I'm in a really big, reading a lot of business and leadership books. But some of those other books that I've mentioned, they're must reads. If I had to sum it up in the 3 top must reads, it would be The Bait of Satan, Ordering Your Private World, and probably my 3rd top must read would maybe be Joy Haney's book on the power of positive speaking. Because, that impacts our spirituality in ways we really, we really don't know the depths really like we should of the power of our words and how our words impact our spiritual life.
It's good. Two other books that I think are important, especially for men, for any men that are watching, and especially like someone who's new, like a new convert that's just coming out of the world and the world that we live in. Every Man's Battle is an amazing book that will really cut to the heart of a lot of issues that men deal with, especially coming out of the world. Can't recommend that enough. And another one is John Eldridge's Wild at Heart. Great book for men to read. It talks a little bit about the desire of a man to be, really a warrior.
It really is.
And that's a great book. So we'll definitely put up some links to those.
I think ladies should read that book as well.
Yeah.
I think ladies should also read Wild at Heart because I think it'll help them understand their man that's maybe a type A driven type man. I think that is one of the best books I've read. Wild at Heart is, in both of them you said. I mean, the Everyman's Battle, the fact that the man just openly admitted that he lusted. He was a pastor, he was married, I mean, I admired the man's transparency, so I appreciate the fact that Karen's going the extra mile here and finding the links of books that we recommend. She does that a lot, and that's just straight up first class. She puts the links up to these books, but Mike also puts these books up, links on what is it, our Fuel for Success page, Mike?
Yep.
Mike, there's been seasons in my life where I needed to get alone with God. I've taken a lot of 3-day complete silence retreats. I mean, complete silence. I've locked myself in cabins. I've locked myself in, different, maybe people's houses that, I rented out, or, maybe like even a church evangelist court. I've got pastors, friends across America that I can call them and say, hey, can I come stay 3 days, in your evangelist quarters? I need to get a hold of God. I need some direction. And I'll literally go 3 days, complete silence, no music, no phone, no internet, just me and God and the Bible and a few books and a notepad. A lot of times I'll catch up on sleep, which is okay, because sometimes God speaks to us when we're sleeping. A lot of times, I'll write, I'll reflect, I'll think, I'll worship, I'll cry, listen, it's one of the best 3 days of my life. I come out so refreshed. I come out so clear. I come out with clear direction on whatever it is I'm searching for. Of course, I always, check in with Caleb every day, because you can never take a 3-day break from a kid when you're a dad, But those are some of the most neat. I would say to anybody that's, before you make major decisions, you need some time alone, completely alone, away from all people, you and God. There's a value in being alone. See, most of us are never alone. There's so much noise in this world. There's so much activity. We're so plugged to technology. Very few of us ever go into nature. For me, I go deep into nature. I'm usually a man that goes gets a cabin in the woods somewhere, deep into the woods. And I'd probably have done this about 7 or 8 times in my life. And all 7 or 8, just best 3 days of my life, Sometimes scary. There's sometimes when you get alone and there's complete silence, you got to deal with some things. Sometimes it's a little, it's tough. Because we stay busy, and staying busy, you don't have to deal with the pain. You don't have to deal with, maybe the issues. It's easy to kind of cover a lot of things up through busyness, and a lot of people do that. I've been prone to do that. Take some of the pain that I've had and just bury it with success or, busyness. When you come down off of that and you're alone, there's a lot of tears that come when you finally start to deal with, the issue at hand, the pain, the real feelings. You write it out, you think about it, you're completely alone. I mean, bro, you'd be surprised, man. I know you've probably done this as well, but you'd be surprised. 3 days is a long time to be completely alone, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially in complete silence.
Yeah. And Janice makes a great point, and she says that it sounds good, but it would be hard to do when you minister to a lot of people. I say that's a great point, because really, if you minister to a lot of people, it's even more important to do it. And even though it may sound difficult to how do you pull yourself? And I know exactly what Janice is talking about. There's so many people that pull at you and need things, and you're giving and connecting and all of those things. And but like Karen said, Jesus himself, God in the flesh, had to go away. Sometimes he had to go by himself up on a mountain, off alone. And if he had to, how much more do we?
I know I might have shared this on the show before. When I pastored a church down in St. Petersburg, Florida, the church was growing. I had 10 full-time staff members, Just a lot going on. I was traveling a lot. I was, just a lot going on. I craved alone time and I never could find solitude. So I rented a storage shed, put a recliner in it, an end table with a candle, and that's it. And I would go in there and I would pull the door down and I would lock it. I would put on my headphones and I would sit in that recliner. It was like heaven. It was like just, And so I would go in there and I would pray, I would read, and I mean, literally it was like the best place because nobody could find me. I could hear no noises. Nobody can interrupt. Who's ever going to suspect that I would be in a storage shed? But man, until one day I was praying in tongues and I was worshiping and the owner of the storage shed like pulls the door open. She like leans in. And I'm sitting in a recliner with a candle on, with my hands in the air, speaking in tongues. That, my friends, is enough to scare any owner of a storage shed. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, I'm here just praying. She goes, "What, is this what you use your storage shed for?" I was like, "Yes, ma'am, I need to." She goes, "I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to take your recliner and get out of here." She was like, "This isn't what storage sheds are supposed to be for." I was like, so embarrassed. Words can't describe how embarrassed I was.
That's funny.
Caught in the act, my friend. Caught in the act, man.
It's funny. That gives me some ideas, though. My version of a storage shed looks a little more like an aluminum boat, but I understand.
Mike, I think I'm going to go shoot the Soul Winner show at Starbucks because the connection here is pretty rough and it's dark. Thank you guys for your patience. Mike and I are very committed to a pathway of excellence. We're getting there. Thank you. Some days the shows are like this. It's just the nature of the beast when we're on the road or whatnot. But thank you so much to our faithful live viewers and to our over 300 people that watch daily. Thank you so much as well that watch on the archives. We love you guys. We believe in you. And don't forget at 10 o'clock, you're more than welcome to join us for our Soul Winner show and hear some teaching and training about personal soul winning. God bless, my friends.
We'll see y'all later.